So Asus released a phone called the Zenfone 9, and while the specs aren't that surprising for a flagship Android phone in 2022, the size definitely is. 5.9 inches diagonal. Let's talk. Okay, so we all know that screen sizes in phones have been ballooning since like 2015, starting with the iPhone 6 Plus, which launched at a whopping 5.5 inches. Granted, the iPhone 6 Plus was a much wider phone with a different aspect ratio. However, since that phone, we are now accustomed to phones that are 6.7, 6.8 inches at the flagship end. However, the Asus Zenfone 9 really changes things. This phone has a flagship Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, but it's 5.9 inches diagonal. And it's really cool how they were able to fit all this power in such a small size. Now, you might have a concern, one being battery life, obviously. The battery on the Zenfone 9, the size itself is 4,300 milliamp hours, which is insane for this size. But you have to remember, even though the phone is 5.9 inches, they made the phone thicker so you could fit a better cooling system for that Snapdragon chip, and you can fit that larger battery. And wow, this phone is regularly keeping up with my iPhone 13 Pro, which is like the battery champ at its size. It's 6.1 inches, it's handleable, and it has very good battery life. And the Asus Zenfone 9 is on another level. I'm getting like a full day of hard like gaming, videos, camera use, everything. It holds up so well, and even when I'm using Bluetooth like devices like my watch and my earbuds, this phone just can't die. I have struggled to kill it in a day with cellular use as well. 5G, it just doesn't die. The battery life on this phone is great. Along with that battery life comes surprisingly fast charging. In the box you get a 30-watt fast charger, USB Type-C, and it charges up the phone super fast. I mean, I'll plug it in for 10 minutes, I'll come back, 30% of the battery is just up again. And part of that is the fact that the battery is smaller, and because of that, it feels like you're getting half a day's charge in like 15 to 30 minutes. It's really nice. Now for the screen. The screen on the Asus Zenfone 9 is really good, but I struggle with it in some scenarios. Now, the refresh rate, 120 Hertz, is great, and 1080p doesn't bother me on this small of a display. However, the brightness could be improved. I believe it maxes out at 800 nits, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's definitely not enough for outside use. And sometimes in bright daylight, which I get in the part of the world that I live in bright daylight, this phone is like very unreadable outside. And it's a fault that the iPhone 13 Pro definitely doesn't have. And especially the new 14 Pros that have come out, they do have 2000 nit displays outside, which I'm not holding against Asus because of the price point that they had to hit, but it's a pretty big downside on this phone. Another thing Asus kind of struggles with is the camera. The cameras on this phone are not bad. 50 megapixel main camera, 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. They're fine. They're a solid B, I'd say. Not competing with the iPhones and Pixels, but they're definitely on par with Samsung's regular S22 and S22 Plus. And I have used those phones, so I would know, right? If you want to watch my review, you can. It's on my YouTube channel. Just go down below to my profile pic and you'll find those reviews. Also, while you're down there, you might want to like, subscribe, do all that nice stuff while you're down there. Yeah, thanks. Okay, back to the phone. So yeah, the cameras on this phone are okay. It does have one really cool feature in video. So the video on this phone is a little advanced. It has a gimbal stabilization system, and it's really cool because the stabilization on this is insane. You can record in 1080p 60, which is what I record in for my YouTube video, so it's great if I want to show you guys an example. There's no 4K version for it. You have to go down the regular stabilization to get 4K video on this phone. But even in 1080, it's extremely sharp when you view it on the display. And I mean, wow, I can run, I can walk, I can pan, I can do anything on this camera when I'm recording video, and it's super, super smooth. And you can definitely see it in 60 FPS recording. Now the pictures on this phone, they come out fine. I'd say the cameras are a solid B+. Really held up because of that video. The video is so good. Okay, let's talk software. The software on the Asus Zenfone 9 is really cool. First off, it feels a lot like stock Android. And from someone who is a Pixel user, I do use the Pixel 7 Pro as my daily driver. The software on this phone feels and looks great. You have the big icons and the color-esque, that material you design from pixels, right? Even the stock launcher emulates a pixel a lot. You have that Google Discover feed from that swipe. And also just using the phone, it feels fast and clean and responsive. The software on this phone is great. And as I mentioned earlier, the only real downside to the software experience on this phone is the fact that it only gets 2 years of software updates. But to me, this feels like a mini Google phone, a mini Pixel, if you will. So, in conclusion, should you buy the Asus Zenfone 9? First of all, where can you buy it? I've only been able to find it in Amazon or on Amazon.com. I haven't seen it anywhere else besides the Asus website. And on Amazon, I got this particular unit for $6.99. But I mean, this phone, it's really cool, especially if you want that small form factor. And did I mention it has a headphone jack? Yeah, a headphone jack in 2022. Crazy. Anyway. If you want all those extra little features, that really smooth stabilization, that headphone jack, the fast charging, the very good battery life that comes with this phone, I'd say go for it. The only downside is that this phone does only get 2 years of software support. Asus might extend it if this phone sells well, but at the moment, there's no real guarantee of more than 2 years. So if you upgrade your phones every couple of years anyway, and if you just want a really nice, small, quality flagship phone, the Asus Zenfone 9 is the one to get. Though if you really think about it, it's the only one you can really buy. Alright, see you around. Peace.